If it's a great program, having good impact, it's also something that should be sustained.
How are we going to make sure that this is going to be available into the future?
Welcome to Achieving Sustainability, a video series supporting grantees' efforts to sustain activities and impacts beyond NSF funding.
Can you tell me a bit about the National Science Foundation ATE program's definition of sustainability?
The ATE program wanted principal investigators to think about the types of products or services that could have a life beyond funding by federal dollars. And that's really what the program solicitation tries to get across, is to think practically, and you think about it right from the very start. For a project, it could be something like a new course is developed for a program, or even a new program is developed. And once the curriculum materials are approved by the institution, those courses and that program can be housed at the institution and will have a life beyond federal dollars. One of the things we ask is, if the program goes forward, will the institution think about hiring either that person or a person with the similar type of capabilities and experience, so that that position is not just cut off at the end of award funding. For a center, it could be something very, very different. The Space Tech Center developed a certification, a Space Tech Cert, that is recognized by the FAA in aviation maintenance. And then the Marine Center, the MATE Center, picked up the global ROV, or remotely operated vehicle competition, and literally runs that every year. The bottom line is, be practical, start early, and really think about what can be sustained, because you can't sustain everything.
We want project leaders of any kind of initiative to set a very high bar, to identify the impact they really want to have. And then to figure out sustainability is to figure out the suite of activities and choices they have to make to achieve those goals. So sustainability is coming up with a coherent, reliable, and ongoing cycle of support that allows them to really do what they got into this in the first place to do.
What is a value proposition, and how is that related to sustainability planning?
It sounds like crazy business jargon, but if you think about value proposition as why do people care about what you do, it becomes incredibly relevant. So we encourage people to step back and to ask, what is it that we are doing that the people we do it for desperately need? The better a project leader or center leader can do in defining and really crystallizing that value proposition, the better they're going to be able to make strategic choices for where to invest in their work, and the better they're going to be able to express that to the people they're going to need to in order to garner the support they need.
We know we have limited funds and resources ourselves to invest, so we look for guidance from outside as to what should be sustained. All the time asking, can we make it better ourselves in our evaluation mode, which is something we do on a continuous basis, but then also, is there a way we can make it more user-friendly for the stakeholders we have? Can we get them to invest in the activity themselves? And that just takes a little bit of guts asking. I think a key is keeping it ever present in our conversations. We do industry tours, and we've now been able to migrate to where we have our partners becoming empowered themselves and making their own partnerships. And so we feel like that's on a good road to sustainability. And we've just started doing similar work for professional development activities, finding organizations to host and also support teachers to attend events.
You know, Maytech, when it started, had a focus on semiconductor manufacturing technology. Big companies like Intel, Texas Instruments were hiring a lot of technicians, and there was a lot of college programs emerging in the country. But that changed. As the industry demand changed, the automation levels lowered the demand for that type of technician. So we worked with our colleges and broadened to include automation, electronics, and now nanotechnology. So as things changed, we tried to match that change for our colleges.
We're all doing this for somebody, so to us, the audience is really a critical focal point for any strategy. So it means figuring out who they are, how many they are, where they are, and especially what they need from you.
Why is thinking about your audience so important in sustainability planning?
We use the phrase audience in kind of a generic way, but what that really means are the people who benefit, your direct beneficiaries. These could be students, your users, your faculty, anyone you're working with.
Why is it important to think about your competitors as well as your audience when thinking about long-term sustainability planning?
But the logic of thinking about the competitive environment is really potent, and it's something we encourage everyone to do. It means really taking a look around, and if you think about it, figuring out what other things are they doing when they're not working with you? Are there another suite of activities or other people delivering similar things that you might learn from, that you might partner with? If someone else is delivering something that's a little too similar, it may encourage you to slightly shift course. So just being very knowledgeable about everything that's out there is awfully important. And we also know that things change fast. So it's not really a defensive pose against people who are going to do what you do, but it's also being aware of what these big environmental changes are.
We decided, with or without funding, we needed to train people in the virtual enterprise pedagogy. Our network is sustained by faculty members adding the pedagogy to their classroom. If we didn't continue training, we wouldn't have new sites and the network would fall apart. Because we wanted to reach a wider audience, we decided to create a video series that follows virtual enterprise students at 4 sites around the United States. The series watches an instructor implement the pedagogy and the students as they implement their projects. The goal is for other instructors who might not be able to afford to come to our New York seminar to learn about virtual enterprise, and also for students in those classrooms that never come to professional development events to get to see what other students are doing in the realm of science and tech entrepreneurship.
It's the environmental landscape. It's the whole landscape. How is funding changing? How are trends in courses and subjects changing? The more people can be aware of the entire landscape that they operate in, the better and smarter and quicker choices they're going to be able to make to do the best work they can do.
What was your biggest sustainability success?
It involved case-based learning. It was a really fun project. The title was Cases in Industry Practice in Biotechnology. We took the structure of a typical biotech or biopharmaceutical company, research and development, quality control, even legal affairs and marketing, and worked with a different industry for each one, developing a case that would lead into a laboratory. The case studies and laboratories that were developed are still available. They're in the Curriculum Clearinghouse, the ATE Center BioLink, and people are still downloading them and using them today. So that still amazes me that the award was a 1997 award, and I guess we did a good enough job with our industry partners that people still think that they are appropriate to use in the classroom today.
Slate is a regional center in Florida funded by the ATE program at NSF. We're very focused on just the manufacturing industry.
What's been your biggest sustainability success?
Our biggest success, I believe, is the degree program that we put into place. It encompasses many of the technologies that are very important to manufacturing. We worked very closely with the industry around the state to define what manufacturers needed. Nearly all the colleges in the state offer this program now. We've done a great job of building up enrollment and providing great workers for our industry partners.
I think the idea that started from the beginning is that the college would become part of our sustainability. And very specifically, they fund part of our personnel. So that integration into our colleges really has been, I think, one of our key factors for sustainability. It's helped us in many different ways.
Can you tell me a little bit about the focus of Evaluate?
Evaluate is the Evaluation Resource Center for NSF's Advanced Technological Education program. We serve as a source of information and support for ATE PIs and evaluators in the program. For a lot of ATE PIs, it's their first experience with project evaluation, and even for some of the evaluators, it's their first experience in the ATE program. So we try to help them develop kind of a common language, common understanding, common expectations around evaluation. And we really stress that evaluation should be used in the project to help improve the projects. It's not just an accountability exercise. It's really difficult to evaluate sustainability directly just due to the nature of the funding cycle, but you can certainly look at the potential for sustainability. For example, you can look at the level of partner and institutional commitment to sustaining initiatives started with the grant funding, and for things like materials, you can look at whether there's an infrastructure in place to keep those materials available into the future.
One of the best things we've had in our toolkit is a survey platform. And every time we send out a new survey and get more information, we revise the virtual enterprise pedagogy and we revise our workshop and its recruitment tools. We continually ask people we've met at conferences, what are their needs, what are they using, and how can we help them? And this has allowed us to recruit partners and gauge how effective we are in our trainings.
I think evaluation can really help you identify what's worth sustaining. It's not realistic, it's not feasible to sustain everything you've started or created with your grant funding. So your evaluation results and your evaluator can help you identify and prioritize what should be sustained and what can be sustained.
The ATE community actually has a leg up on lots of other kinds of communities that think about sustainability because they have such a deep culture of assessment and evaluation already. But one piece of advice might be to really make as much as you can of that data, and not just on an annual basis or for the purpose of a report, but as a way to really feed your strategic planning for the future. And the second thing is to realize that it's really an ongoing, everyday kind of a process. Plans and strategies in the first year, in the second year, and even at the beginning of this grant may have changed since then. So just to continue to think about sustainability as an ongoing cycle that needs ongoing revision and thought.
If you could pick one key piece of advice related to evaluation and sustainability for the AT community, what would that be?
I think you need to be thinking about it every day. Now, you are going to have a formal external evaluation, which maybe isn't on your radar on a daily basis, but you can integrate evaluative thinking using data on a daily basis to make decisions, and I think sustainability can be the same thing. How are we going to make sure that this is going to be available into the future? How can we deepen our partners' commitment to continue this once the funding goes away? Having evidence that you've made a difference in the world is going to go a long way and be very impressive to people you may want to work with or funding sources. It's going to give you an edge as opposed to someone who's just saying we have this really good idea or we're doing really great work. You have this external validation of the work that you're doing. And it's not just about finding more money, right? It's about sustaining the good work that you're doing. That's the most important thing.
First, take a look at who your audience might be. We started off by providing virtual enterprise to biotech and IT classrooms, and we expanded from there. Second, think about other ways that your innovations might apply to the broader science and technology community. In order for our project to be sustained, we have to convince more people to join this movement. And in order to do that, you need a base of literature, you need videos, you need a lot of materials that get people excited about science and tech entrepreneurship.
Start early. We created a formal sustainability plan in the second year of our center under the encouragement of our industry advisory board and our national visiting committee. And they helped us with that sustainability plan. So start early, change the plan as you go forward, and make it your own. It's not going to be somebody else's plan. It'll be yours.
What I think new projects and new PIs can do is really make sure that they have clear-cut goals and objectives and metrics of how they're going to get there, and think about all the time what investment they're making in particular projects. Additionally, there's a lot of great resources in the ATE community that we've developed over the years, and I just encourage new PIs and new project people to really take a look at those, take time at the beginning to not reinvent the wheel, to see what other folks have done, and partner with some of those existing projects and centers.
When we think about crafting a project, we say, think about your evaluation ahead of time. What are your goals and objectives, and how will you know if you reach them? Well, if at the same time you start thinking about what really could live beyond these federal dollars, and you think about it right from the very start, even if it's the type of thing like you will be hiring an adjunct person, you could go to your administration early on and say, if this whole thing is successful, will you write a letter of commitment to say that this person would be hired or someone with those types of capabilities? Early and practical, I think, are the two best pieces of advice I could give around sustainability.